tell us about yourself. Where did you grow up, and what's one of the first life lessons you remember making?
Okay, so I was actually born just outside of London, England, and my parents immigrated to Canada when I was quite little, about two or three. That's why I have no cool accent. And I was raised in Ottawa, Canada. I've been here ever since. And one of the biggest life lessons I say I've learned is basically to make your own opportunities when they don't present yourself. There is a great quote that one of my best friends always uses, and it's, if your ship does not come in, swim out to it. And I've pretty much lived my life by that quote ever since, and it really does ring true to me.
That's a great one. I haven't heard that one yet. I'm gonna have to start using that.
Yeah.
So I first discovered you on TikTok and you were talking about being child free by choice and loving it. And I was just like, I don't think I've ever heard someone just speak so openly and candidly about that. And it's great that, it's a Black woman, someone that looks like me and I can relate with. And let's face it, this is like a decision that's not like celebrated yet, hopefully one day.
Right.
But yeah, it's not like seen as a norm. So how do you get so confident in putting your decision out there instead of just keeping it private?
Well, I just felt when I started making those TikToks about 2 years ago or a year ago or a year and a half ago, I just felt like there weren't too many people talking about it, period, no matter the race. And I was always, always, always very comfortable with my decision, no regrets, really. Every now and then I'll see a baby that makes my ovaries hurt, but I am very, very confident in my decision. This is the life that I chose and the life that makes the most sense for me. And then as I started making more and more videos, I noticed that they were really resonating with Black women in particular. And that's because in our culture, family is celebrated, having children is very celebrated. The nuclear family is very much the norm. But then when you look at families in the Americas, that a lot of them are broken. You've got absentee fathers, struggling single mothers, so on and so forth. And while I didn't come from that background whatsoever. My parents are still together. I had a pretty loving family unit growing up. I just wanted to talk about those societal norms and also talk about my experience of what it's like breaking that sort of cycle as a Black woman. And it served me well. I absolutely love my community that my videos relate to.
Cool. And so let's just backtrack a little bit. So, from what I saw online, you decided at 29 that you didn't want to have kids, and then you let your husband know. So, how did you even come to this decision, especially so young? And how did you know you wouldn't regret it, like they always say, like a warren woman, they will?
I knew as a kid, though, that I didn't want to have kids. I was grossed out by babies, the vomiting and pooing their pants and stuff like that. I wanted no part of it. And a memory that is clear as day is that my mother had three cesareans for each of her children. And I remember when she came home with my little sister Alice from the hospital, I was about 10 years old, and she sat down. My dad had bought her a recliner, rocking chair, and she sat down in that rocking chair right out of getting out of the car from the hospital and just started bawling. And she said that that last cesarean was so painful, and she was just so happy to be home. And I'd never seen my mother cry before. My mother is like, she's just not a crier. She's a tough cookie. And that just struck me so much. And I was like, I'm never having kids. I'm
Mhm.
never hurting. I don't ever want to feel that way. And then also, my parents didn't have all that much money. Well, they raised us not wanting for anything.
Mhm.
We were not that family who was like my other childhood friends, constantly renovating their houses, constantly going to Disney World, new cars every year, all sorts of toys. I didn't have that. And both of my parents worked two jobs at some points in their lives just to put food on the table. And I saw that struggle. And I just wanted more for myself, for lack of a better word. So really, I knew as a child, as a kid, I didn't want kids. But that being said, I was a babysitter as a teen and I loved kids.
Yeah.
They call me like the dog and kid whisperer. Dogs love me and kids love me.
Mm,
Like I absolutely love children. I just knew that the type of lifestyle I wanted, I'd be better off being a rich auntie as opposed to an actual mother. So yeah, at 29, I just thought, I know for sure that I don't want kids, but I better talk to my husband. I better make sure that he doesn't want to have kids either. And I'm so glad he was on the same boat because that could have ended pretty
I
terribly.
know,
So
and that's what I was gonna ask is, did that not come up at all when you guys were dating or engaged, or how did you, just like for women that are dating now and are wondering like when they bring it up, just to know if this person's on the same page? It looks like you had the conversation after you were already married.
yeah, definitely. We didn't really talk about it all that much before I was 29. Um, I just sensed that he was on the same page. And then I mustered the courage to sit him down and say, you know what, I don't think I really want to do this. And he was like, okay. So and that was
It
it,
worked out.
honestly. Like a 1 minute conversation. I was like, oh,
So
God.
what advice would you have for women now? Would you advise them to have that conversation early on when they're dating? Okay.
Absolutely. Like if you are getting serious with someone, your partner deserves to know how you feel. That like imagine how heartbreaking that is. You go through this wedding, you create this life together, and then it potentially ends because your life decision doesn't jive with his or hers. And yeah, I absolutely have that conversation early on. Talk about your finances early on, talk about kids early on.
Yes.
And yeah, absolutely.
And how do you, or I don't know if you've maybe heard any stories or anything, but a lot of times maybe the other partner who wasn't so like pro kids, but maybe they say, yeah, that's fine. I don't want to have kids. And then later on the line, they end up changing their mind or anything like that. Were you ever worried that your husband would end up changing his mind, or that he was saying he doesn't want to have kids just to like be with you and keep you happy?
I seriously, I sensed he was on the same page. That, you know what, that thought never even crossed my mind until you asked it. It has never, ever occurred to me that, oh, maybe he regrets his decision. Maybe I should ask him. But I'm assuming we have been married. We'll be married 20 years next June.
Ooh,
He's
congrats.
never brought it up. He is a fantastic uncle. I see great father in him, and his dad was an incredible dad. I know that he'd be a great dad, but he has never expressed any sort of regret, and he's very open about his feelings. I am absolutely positive that he would have mentioned something by now.
By now. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
And then so the other part of that original question was, how did you know back then like you wouldn't regret it in the future? Because it's always like, well, have it because you might regret it. So how do you, and it's so tough making decisions when we're younger because it's like you're considering what you know in the moment now and what could be true like 10 years from when you're making that decision. So how did you sort of, I don't know if you're like an overthinker or a worrier, but like, did you not think about what your future self might think about the decision you're making then?
I am absolutely a ruminator overthinker, and it's something like I've, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in therapy to to regulate. But yeah, I just no, it just I am very, very strong in my convictions, very, very strong in my child-free beliefs, and yeah, I don't even worry about it.
Yeah, that's good.
You know,
Very.
maybe I'll pull a Naomi Campbell and adopt or
I
go
keep
the
forgetting she
surrogacy
has the
route.
kid now.
Same. And you know what? I love that she keeps her so private. I think
Yeah.
it's a little girl. But I just
Okay, good. You're at
no,
peace with your decision.
absolutely. And never really doubted it.
I love that. So I'm curious to know how your relationship with your friends or siblings who are moms, are there any ups or downs in that relationship at all?
None of my siblings have kids.
Okay.
And I think at this point, they're not going to have kids. And I definitely have a few mom acquaintances, let's say. Like, I definitely have mom friends,
Mhm.
but I've had some mom acquaintances who wouldn't include me in family gatherings that they'd have. Like, let's say they'd throw a summer barbecue and, they'd assume I don't want to go because there'll be kids there. But also, I gotta be honest, I don't really want to go to an event full of small children.
Yeah.
The screaming. We live next to a beautiful park, which is next to a school, and
So
these
that's
kids
about as much
screaming
as you can
at
do.
I no. no, that just reinforces my childfree
Everything.
decision.
Yeah. Because it
So,
is something.
like,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I prioritize my peace.
And
And while I do love kids, I'm yeah, no.
it makes sense. So I don't know if you watch Sex in the City, but there's this episode where Carrie, long story short, she goes to like a baby shower or a birthday for a kid for one of her
And gets
friends.
her Manolo stolen.
Yes,
I am
that
still
one.
mad about that.
Yes. And then her friend, her shoes get stolen at the party, the kid's birthday or whatever. And her friend is like, what's the big deal? Or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. And Carrie is just like, I've come to like so many of your kids' birthday parties, like baby showers, whatever it is. So there's just this thing about friends with no kids constantly showing up for your friends with kids, which is fine. You know, you don't mind doing it. But then when it comes to you and your sort of accomplishments or celebrations, you don't get that same thing in return. And then I saw this woman on TikTok who was basically like, well, we have kids, we're so busy, we don't have time to like show up all the time, like we have like, what are we going to do with the kids? So just curious if you've seen any sort of that sort of balance in your imbalance in your friendships with kids where it's like they're prioritized, like their schedules are prioritized because they have the kids, so everything's around them and like their celebrations, and if you're getting love back in return or how you deal with that if you're not.
Just quickly. You know what resonated with me more about
Mm.
that episode? The sheer nerve that that friend of Carrie's had about dismissing Carrie's feelings and making fun of the fact, making her feel bad about the fact that she spends her disposable income however she wants.
Yeah.
And that I have had problems with some people
Mm.
about. Like, because they can't afford to go to Chanel and buy a handbag because, they have prioritized their kids' needs more,
Yeah.
they shame me for spending my money however I want. I have definitely suffered through that. Suffered. I have definitely been like I've definitely had that experience. But yeah, like I definitely have friends who, the relationship suffered a bit because they, I don't see them anymore because they're momming. And um, I totally get that. I would never fault anybody. I would
Mhm.
never fault a friend for obviously putting her kids first.
Mhm.
That's, I feel, what you should be doing. Um, if I never hear from you again, though, but I see you out having like a night out with your girlfriends and you didn't invite me, and then you have the nerve to tell me, oh, you're too busy because you're taking care of your kids, that hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts. That's when I know, like, you don't really want to hang out with me for
With you.
whatever your reasons are. Um, I also hear from some child-free women who are single. They don't get included in events with their friends because they fear that they will hit on their husbands or do
So
something
weird.
crazy. It is so weird.
Yeah.
Like people's insecurities make them crazy.
Yeah.
So, excuse me, I would never, ever, ever give anybody any issues for putting their children first. But,
But how have you dealt with those
if,
sort of conversations? Are you more confrontational? Like,
oh,
do you have an example of just like a conversation you've had to have with like a friend who's a mom or anything like that where you just feel like they weren't respecting just like where you are and that you're happy with it?
I am fortunate that I haven't really had that conversation. There is a famous a famous experience I have had that I've spoken about on my TikTok where I went to this girl's house. She was a friend in high school, and she had this big barbecue, and she invited my husband and I, and we had just gotten engaged. And she asked, we were in her kitchen, everybody was in the kitchen, as people tend to do at these gatherings, and she asked to see my ring, and I showed it to her, and she's like, oh, that's nice, but you'll never know true love until you have a baby.
I saw this
And I was
video, yeah.
just, to this day, 20 years later, still disgusted at what she said to me. And I'm like, you know what? I have a mom, I have a dad, I have sisters, I have a freaking dog. I know, I have a husband, poor Ryan. I know what true love is. How dare you try to belittle me, belittle my experience, because you think you're superior because you're a mom.
Yeah.
I am confrontational, but my big mouth tends to get me in trouble. So, with age comes wisdom.
Mhm.
So if somebody wants to act the fool, if somebody wants to be disrespectful, that's your problem. I'm not lowering myself. I'm not debasing myself to your level to have some petty fight with you. I'm
Mhm.
most certainly not going to dress somebody down in their own home as
Yeah.
well. So I've been fortunate. I haven't had to have any uncomfortable conversations with anyone. I think most of my friends know my personality as well. And if they want to be rude, they better come correct. Like I'm not going to stand for it.
I
So
love that. I love that. Okay, great. They shouldn't mess with
yeah,
you. And
no,
it's so
don't mess with me.
interesting because I was watching another creator on TikTok yesterday and she was talking about how she's young as well, just graduated college, and she's like she's not sure if she wants to have kids and things like that. And someone was in the comments was like, "Don't you want your own family?" And she's like, "I have a family. They're great. Like why is that not seen as my own family unless I have kids?"
It's
So
funny how
it's always
people
just
word things.
yeah, it's just so interesting. Like you have your mom, dad, your sibling, like it's a family. Like you don't have to have kids to have your own family. So it was just interesting seeing that comment and just seeing how people think.
Yeah, definitely. And I really do think it's North American group think.
Mm.
Like most of my family is still in Europe, and like I see these American and Canadian moms with their ridiculous comments online trying to shame people for not having their own families. These discussions just don't seem to happen elsewhere.
They don't. And I have
Like
a friend who moved to Italy for her husband's job. And she was just talking about how seeing moms there has helped her feel better about motherhood. Like they
honestly,
have their kids like out with them at the restaurants for dinner, just like in their stroller. Or like she said, by a lot of the parks, it's like there's like maybe a bar or something. So the moms are sitting there just watching their kids in the playground. But it just seems in North America and like America hates moms. It's like you want us to
yeah,
have kids, but there's no childcare, no mental health services if we need it. We can't afford like nannies, like, and then you shame us when we go out because it's like you just had a baby
yeah.
2 weeks ago. Why are you out? So it just doesn't make sense. You want people to be moms, but the system doesn't help that. So she said
It's
going to
damned if you
Europe
do,
was
damned
just
if you don't.
yeah.
Another thing I notice about Europe and everywhere other than North America is the kids are much more well behaved.
Mm,
Like I can go to the grocery store and not listen to, little Johnny throw an absolute fit because his
yeah,
mom won't let him have sugar crisp or
that's true.
something crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just feel like North American, it's like it's just so they put these absurd rules out there that nobody can really live live up to,
Yeah.
and then they just end up making everybody feel bad.
Hmm.
I'm so over it. I
Yeah.
cannot wait to retire elsewhere.
No, I get it. Yeah, it's just weird. But let's move on to your career. So I know that you transitioned into being a full-time content creator, but previously were you an esthetician, I believe?
Yeah, so I started as an esthetician
Okay.
and I worked in a spa for a few years and I absolutely loved that job. And then I wasn't making great money, but I loved my job. And I thought the city I live in Ottawa, which is a government town. It's the capital of Canada. It's like excuse me, Washington DC light. And everybody in Ottawa, just as soon as they graduate from university, they get a government job. So I just thought that was my path as well. It's what my parents wanted me to do, so on and so forth. So I got a job in the federal government. I worked there for 14 years. I pretty much hated every second of it because they just suck the creativity
Mm.
and the fun out of everything. And the bureaucracy will just kill you. Like you want to order a pen, it has to go through like 4 levels of approvals. Everything takes forever. I ended my government career as a project manager, and I don't think I ever saw the completion of a project. Every
Oh,
project
wow.
turned into like a 10-year program,
Wow.
and I was just over it. And when I had so about I'd say like 5 years before I quit, I started a blog, and that garnered a lot of success. And when I started making more money doing like blogging and influencing, I started saving like crazy so that I could quit my job.
Mhm.
And then I eventually did and never looked back.
I
Never
love
looked
that.
back.
And then how
Yeah.
did you get the confidence to just go like after this point where people might feel like it's too late to switch careers? Like you were like, I'm going to be a full-time content creator. I'm in my 40s. It doesn't matter. So how did you get that confidence to just do that switch?
I'm a pretty confident person. I'm a real go-getter. Like I'm a total Sagittarian. And I really always had that mindset of the pie is big enough for everybody to get a slice. In Canada, I felt like I was filling a gap. There was only a handful of female Black
Mhm.
influencers when I started, and I was one of a very few who was like a mature influencer, a mature content creator, and brands loved that about me. I have a bit of a photography background, and a good writer. Brands like that as well because a lot of these influencers are like, try this red
Yeah.
lipstick, it's great. And like I just my reviews were more in depth. My
Yeah.
photography was more on point, and that really served me well. And I just knew that my content would resonate with someone, and it did. And I loved it.
Mhm.
It filled me. I would come home from work at like 5:30, 6 o'clock, make dinner, and then get on the computer and just blog and create content. I'd forget to eat. I'd forget to go to the bathroom. I was just so
I
absorbed.
loved it. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I never, ever, ever felt that way in my government job.
I can imagine.
And then, yeah, yeah. And then I just forging my own path made me feel so proud. And it gave me confidence, actually, I didn't know I had. Like, I was always a pretty confident person, but this gave me that sense of pride and confidence to take calculated risks that I wouldn't normally take.
Mm,
And
mm.
it served me very well.
That makes sense. So I see like your skin tips and things on TikTok. And of course, as a former esthetician and someone who loves skincare, and your skin looks great. So we want to know, how do you feel about like plastic surgery and age? So now 17-year-olds are getting like lip fillers, boob jobs. Do you believe it's like whatever helps them get confident, or is there a certain age you can start doing these things? Like I heard to start doing Botox in your 30s.
That
So what are
that
your
that
thoughts?
is a good rule.
Okay.
That is a good rule. I really don't think anybody needs Botox under the age of 30. And I absolutely do not agree with teenagers having any form of plastic surgery because your body hasn't stopped developing and
Yeah.
growing yet. Lip filler, lip injections, you have to be careful with because if you go too big, a la Kylie Jenner,
Yeah.
like she started doing them really early, it can stretch out the skin.
Mm,
And if you decide to stop fillers, like you don't know how that
it's
will
gonna look.
look,
Yeah.
right? But I am a huge proponent of plastic surgery for like once you're old enough to do so, yeah, do whatever you can within reason to feel good about yourself. So I started getting Botox and filler in my late 30s.
Yeah.
I had really deep crevasses under my eyes, and I had no cheekbones and no chin. And I went and got filler to balance out my face and make me look less tired. It made me look younger, and I'm just really, really, uh, I'm thrilled with the results. And I'm no longer like I know I'm a beautiful woman,
You are.
but I no longer feel worried about, oh, people used to tell me I look tired all the time. People are
Mm.
rude, let me
Yeah,
tell you,
people are
first
very
of all.
people say whatever comes to
People
their
are
mind.
people are freaking rude. But I never get those comments anymore. And the under eye filler was just huge for me. I also just got a chemical peel, and that was,
Ooh.
oh my God, I cannot tell you. That was just so worth it. I was so worried about getting a chemical peel because a lot of these chemical peels and laser peels are not formulated. They're not designed for black skin and
Mhm.
can do a real number on your skin and cause serious hyperpigmentation. But I partnered with a favorite skincare brand, and they have a clinic in Ottawa, and I went and they assured me it would be fine. And oh my God, I would
You loved it.
climb the highest mountain and shout it from the rooftops like, Black girls, go get a chemical peel. It was
Oh, I need to try
incredible.
that, especially during winter, so like you won't be out in the sun afterwards.
Yeah, so like so I had my chemical peel not yesterday, the Monday before, or not this Monday, the Monday before, and I let her know I'm going to Vegas tomorrow. We all know like Vegas is like it's so hot and sunny and fabulous, but I am packing my hats.
Yeah.
I've got all sorts of sunscreen, just you want to be careful with
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So, how do you know when, like, when people start doing all these cosmetic procedures, how do you know when enough's enough? Because I realized when I started filming TikToks, now I'm looking at myself more and noticing things. And I was like, now I kind of see why celebrities get a lot of work done. Because if you're used to looking at photos and videos of yourself every single day, you just keep noticing stuff. So, do you think you'll struggle with that sort of balance, or like how can people just know when enough is enough and not go like overboard, like Madonna overboard?
Yeah, the physics of the face are very precise. Like, it's just so obvious on most people when you've had a nose job or when you've had lip filler because there's just something off, right? Unless you get a surgeon who's just really great at what he or she does. Um, I just feel like minor tweaks are the way to go. It's like Jennifer Grey, that famous actress from Dirty Dancing.
Hmm.
Everybody knew her because she had a distinctive nose. And then when she went and got a nose job, she looked so different. It
Different.
affected her career negatively. Like, I would, you've got to be so careful. I was always of the mindset as well, um, that I needed a nose job. And then when I went in for my nose job consultation, the doctor's like, he was really funny. He's still my doctor to this day, like he does my injections. And he's like, he's very blunt. He's like, there's nothing wrong with your nose. It's the fact that you have no chin. It's making your nose look bigger.
That's
I
the
was like, oh my
problem.
God. Oh my God. So he gave me chin filler, which totally balanced my face and I feel made my nose look smaller. And that's what's so great about having a good surgeon or a good doctor or a good nurse practitioner. They will analyze your face and tell you instead of you just like making these random decisions
Yeah.
without the
That's
help
nice he
of
did
a
that, yeah. I've been hearing in
yeah,
Turkey they're doing the ethnic nose jobs, so they said
yeah.
Michaela Cole got one of those, so it still
I feel
gives you like a
that's
black
what
nose.
Beyonce got. That's what
Yes.
Beyonce got. That's what Rihanna got.
Yeah.
Kelly Rowland is a fantastic example of
Ooh.
that. Same with Aaliyah. Aaliyah got
I
a
didn't realize so
fantastic
many
nose
people got
job.
nose jobs, actually.
Everybody in Hollywood, every popular singer, everyone has had something done.
Hmm.
Everyone.
I wanna get a nose job, but I just feel like it's just right in the middle of your face, so I feel like any changes, it'll look so different. So I'm just like, I
My
maybe I just
biggest fear was looking like Michael Jackson.
Yes, because
And
I'm like, if they
like,
take off too much, it can be pointy, and I'm not someone that has a pointy nose. I'm like Nigerian full on 100%. So I'm just like, can't they shave the sides a little bit? So I don't know. I was like, let me go to Turkey and see what they're talking about. But I'm so scared. I feel like I'll
exactly.
never do it because
Like
you can't change your mind.
Turkey, Iran, yeah, the Persian
Mm,
surgeons are just so on point. Persian hairstylists as
yeah.
well.
I wonder if they can
And
show you like a
Turkey.
3D rendering of what it'll
That's
look like.
exactly what they do.
Okay,
That's
okay,
exactly what they do.
okay.
The technology is so good these days.
Hmm.
Like I would be like, there is no reason for anybody these days to have like some sort of crazy botched
Watch
surgery.
job,
You
yeah.
should be doing your research and you shouldn't be skimping on the price.
Hmm.
You shouldn't be skimping on the price. You buy I always say you pay like get the best skincare you can afford, get the best doctors you can afford, get the best lawyers you can afford, like just get the best of the best that you can afford.
Yes. So ladies need to stop going to get their BBLs in some random
In a
country
basement.
in a
Yes,
basement.
in your lash tech's basement. Don't
Yeah.
get a BBL from your lash tech.
Yeah.
Don't get your car wrapped by your lash tech. Did you see that TikTok?
Oh my God. I didn't see that one, but I saw one where she went for her BBL and they didn't like give her anesthesia. They just put like loads of ice on her or something. And I was like, at that point, you didn't think something was wrong. But yeah, people are very
That is
they
so
take a lot of
terrible.
risks.
And if you're a BBL is a really invasive, dangerous
Yeah.
surgery. It has
Hmm.
to be done very carefully, and you should be paying the money to stay in
For
a
the
recovery
post, yeah.
residence
Hmm.
or a hospital for at least a week afterwards. And
Yeah. You see
every
them on the
time I go to
plane.
Miami, they are on the plane on the way back to wherever they're going, and they're hunched over. They can barely sit. They've got those
Yeah.
big donuts they need to sit on, and they look there. Oh my God, there was this one girl, you could still see the drains,
Oh
the
no.
tubes, and her she was wearing like a little cropped hoodie and her whole back and tummy was black and blue. Like
I would have like dressed like covered everywhere up, but I guess you guys
I
still
would
got
have
to be a
stayed.
bad
I would have paid the
package.
money to
Yes,
recover
like
in
include that in your
Miami.
budgeting. Okay. Well, yeah, that's not a good story. But, what are some skincare and wellness practices we should be doing now in our late 20s, early 30s that we'll be grateful for like 20 years from now? So I'm trying to be very religious about sunscreen and just like staying out of the sun in general. But do you have any more like skincare and like wellness tips in general?
Honestly, it's more taking care of yourself from the inside out. Um, their foods are so processed now and so devoid of nutrition. It is really hard to have great glowing skin when you are a trash can.
Mm.
I think people are overdoing it with coffee, caffeine, sugar. Um, Try to buy organic where you can as much as possible and exercise. Not enough people exercise. And it doesn't have to be this like high cortisol, annoying, like fray your nerves sort of workout like Barry's Boot Camp
Mhm.
or Orange Theory or, crazy weight sessions in the gym. Get out and walk. Like start your day with a walk. That's what I would do in the summer. I try my best. Like my days are crazy, but I try to start the day with walking the dog and like go for a good 45-minute walk, put on my like podcasts and something motivational and walk the dog. And that just sets the day. It's so great. Try to get your workout in first thing in the morning. Um, get your supplements as well. I'm a huge, like, I've worked with a naturopath, I've worked with a nutritionist. If you have a well balanced diet, you do not need supplements, but you never know what vitamin or mineral can unlock, like, the key to long life. So, I take like Symbiotica super greens and like hydrate with like hydration boosters like
Mhm.
Hydrolyte and stuff like that. I will take magnesium citrate at night. It relaxes you and calms you before bed so that you can have a good sleep, but it also clears you out in the
Ooh,
morning so you can get rid of all these toxins. So yeah, I try to really eat well, live a really balanced life and diet like I try to live by a really healthy balance. And I feel like that's done wonders for me. Like I'm 45. I feel like I look a whole lot younger and thank
mhm.
God. Like I know a lot of that is genetics, but I think like I hate to say clean living because I'll go to McDonald's when I feel
Yeah.
like it. I'll eat a whole freaking birthday cake by myself if I want to. Maybe not a whole one, but you got to treat yourself as well and just be kind to yourself. Like give yourself a lot of grace and be gentle with yourself. And I think that like radiates
Yeah.
from within. But yeah, that's the advice that I would give to young people or people in their 30s. Just be kind to yourself, treat your body like a temple really, and get toxic freaking people out of your life because they will age you, girl. They will age you.
Yes, great advice. And so,
Yes.
one thing I was thinking last week just about little things that I've changed since getting older, or just like things I've noticed. So, one thing I'm loving is just like not doing things that I don't want to do. In terms of
Yeah.
just like before, I would be like, okay, I'll do this thing, and then I'll hate that I said yes to it or whatever. So just being more confident saying no and just leaving it at that. So, what are some things that you've loved as you've gotten older, like ways your mindset has changed, or just ways that you're just things that are just different now that you just won't tolerate anymore?
Now that I'm older, I don't stand any crappy behavior from anyone. And that doesn't mean you have to get into some knockdown, drag out fight with an idiot. Just extricate yourself from the situation and then cut them out. Like, who cares? Everybody says don't burn bridges, but sometimes it's worth it.
Mm.
And for you to protect your peace, like, no, 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 no. Like, if this person hurt me once, why do I want to keep that bridge? You know? Like, also, I just feel that as a Black woman in her mid 40s, in her midlife, I know that living a peaceful, happy life is the key to long life, a long, happy life, staying active, surrounding myself with people that make me happy, that I can learn from is of utmost importance to me right now. And as I've grown old and crotchety, I have the smallest circle of friends, and they are superstars. Like one is a vice president of whatever she does. And then the other one leads a huge nonprofit organization. And, the other one is a cryptocurrency professional. And, she flies all over the world, you know, giving TED Talks and speaking to the UN. And, these are women that I want to be in the room with. These are women that I can learn from. And they are just like, no crap, no pretenses. We don't fight. We don't like, there's no passive aggressiveness. There's none of this crap. And I'm just so happy for them. We go out for dinner and the conversation is on point. We have our laughs. We do our thing and thank God for them. So yeah, as I've grown older, I just want good people around me, and I just want to live a happy, quiet life with my little family, and I want to focus on my health. My health is of utmost importance right now. I used to be a big party girl in my 20s and 30s. I just now, it's no longer fun to go out binge drinking. Like
Mhm.
that is a messy look. And I don't want to have diabetes. I don't want all of these chronic illnesses that are skyrocketing
Mhm.
in North America right now. It's like all about my health, all about being happy. And yeah,
What does
that's,
friendship look like for you now? Because I know when you're younger, maybe either from college or used to like living in the same town as all your friends, you guys like all the same things. And then you get older, some people become moms or some people just have different interests. So now that you're in your 40s, have you kept a lot of your friendships from like 20 years ago? How can we
yeah.
start to look at friendships as we get older? And do you make new friends in your 40s? Like, how does even making new friends work?
I find making friends in my 40s quite difficult,
Okay.
especially in the influencer space,
Mhm.
because so many influencers are nut jobs. Honestly, I've met so many crazy people doing
Yeah.
what I do. So I really, really stick to myself. But I'm always polite to everyone. I do love meeting people, but I feel like my bullshit radar is so on point now. Like if there are any red flags, I'm like, I peace out.
Yeah.
My girlfriend Vanessa, I have known for 15 years now, and my girlfriend Jenny, I have known since, gosh, the third grade.
Okay.
She moved back to um, London, England, and we talk every single day. Like I love these girls. I find it very difficult to meet new people now, mainly because everybody is married and has kids and that's their priority, and that's totally fine. And I am very, very sensitive as well to really jiving with other people. Like, if you do something or you have a mindset that I don't agree with, I find that toxic, and I don't want it. I don't want it around me. I
Mm.
just uh and but on the other hand, I don't know when we stopped being friends with people of opposing views, political views, opposing like family values and stuff like that. You can still be friends with these people without attacking each other.
Yeah.
And so I think that plays a huge role in friendships nowadays. Like personally, do I want to be friends with a Trump supporter? Likely not.
Yeah.
Will I sit down and listen to his or her point of view? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I going to call them names and be mean to them before I listen to what they have to say? No. So I really do try to keep an open mind, and I do love meeting other people, but it is of utmost importance to me to befriend people who are at least on the same wavelength,
Wavelength. Yeah.
and that I can learn from. And I don't want to sound selfish, but um, I just like if we have completely opposite views and completely opposite interests, then maybe it won't work. But yeah, I just like learning from other people, and I like good people. Like there are so many people who um you like, okay, something my therapist says all the time is that most people think that other people are nice.
Mm.
Like because you're a nice person, you assume everybody else is a nice person, and that's absolutely not the case.
Right.
And so you have to hone your skills on how to determine whether or not this person is worth befriending, worth spending your time on, like
That's a
it's
good
sad to
point
say,
because you
but
always look
it's
at things
true.
like this is how I would do it. And of course, like not everyone's going to do it that way or just be nice or give them that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So we hear a lot about how the 30s are like the best decade, like best time of your life. I feel like the 40s need better PR because we don't really hear much about the
The
40s or what's going
40s.
on or how women feel. So what do you think has been your best decade so far? And what do you,
40s.
okay, 40. Okay, what do we have
And
to
I
look
can't
forward
wait
to
for
in our
my
40s?
50s.
Perfect.
I
What do
love
we
my
have to look forward
40s,
to in our 40s? Because we don't hear much about the 40s.
especially for women. You you're like you I feel like you're just so much more in tune to what you want and what you don't want. You're so much more confident, you're making so much more money. You are more, the confidence thing really resonates with me. So like, I will take myself out to dinner. If I have an event in Toronto and it's at 8 p.m. and I'm there alone, I have no problem going to a bustling restaurant and getting a table for one and having a nice dinner. And I meet so many younger women who are like, oh my God, I could never. Like, I just, who cares? You're brimming with confidence. You know what you want, you know what you don't want, you don't stand for any crap. And you have a budget. You have a much bigger budget. Like most of us have a much bigger budget. And I absolutely love that. I also feel that this is the best I've ever looked.
Mm.
This is the best I've ever looked. I can afford a personal trainer. I can afford injectables. I can afford like the $400 night cream that may or may not do anything.
Yeah.
But that just opened up the world for me. And what I love about being child free is I can call up Jenny or Vanessa, my friends, and be like, feel like going to New York this weekend? Want to go to Chicago? There's a great deal on a flight to Miami. Want to go to Cabo? Like
Let's
we
go.
do that sort
Yeah.
of thing. Like we have wine country up here, Prince Edward County and Niagara on the Lake, and we'll just go. Like if Jenny's visiting Ottawa, like we will go. And there's nothing really holding us
Stopping you.
back.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I
See,
love that
lots to
about
look
my
forward to.
40s. And yeah, because I feel like in your 30s, you're still really, really working on your career,
Mm.
making a name for yourself. You're still going out a lot. You're still partying. Everybody's getting divorced in their 30s too, which is rough for a lot of people. And you're still, I feel, figuring things out.
Still figuring things out. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas
Good.
in your
That's good
40s, I feel
PR.
like you've figured it out.
Okay. Good. We
And
need to hear
in
more
your
about that.
50s, you
Yeah,
just
and then it just gets
don't
better.
give a shit anymore.
Just say whatever, do whatever.
Exactly.
So, what's next for you? What are you excited about as the year wraps up?
Oh my gosh, I have a lot on the books. I am so blessed to be like I don't like the glorification of busy, but it's like a beautiful, manageable busy, and I'm looking forward to these projects. It's fantastic. I am partnering with Michael Kors to give styling
Hey,
classes
congrats.
to professionals. That's happening
Exciting.
in October. I am hosting co or not hosting, but I am putting on several presentations during the National Women's Show next month as well. But what I'm excited about is just brainstorming. I don't want to be influencing forever.
Okay.
I want to retire
Okay.
sooner rather than later. And I'm just looking at like developing some sort of product line, something that's
Okay.
truly mine,
Mm-hmm.
and be it collaborating with a brand who can handle all the intricacies of like, I don't know,
Yeah,
drop
yeah.
shipping, marketing, blah, 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 like all the stuff that I don't want to do. I am such a Sagittarian. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I like the big picture, and you guys deal with the
Yeah,
little boring
you guys do
details.
all that. Yeah, the details.
So yeah, I would love to come up with my own product, my
Okay.
own brand, and something that's truly mine so that, if my Instagram gets hacked again, I don't have to like,
Yeah.
have some major panic that my
Mm-hmm.
business will end. That is what I'm looking forward to.
That's exciting. We can't wait. I'll definitely be shopping the skincare line when it drops.
Thank you. Okay, everybody's like, duh, skincare. But
Yes,
I just
no,
feel like
skin makes sense.
the market is so saturated, but then again, the pie is big enough for everybody to get a
It is.
slice.
It
I
is. And
just,
also it's might be saturated, but not all the products might be great. So yeah, I feel
yeah,
like there's always still room for like products that work.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Cool.
you know what, Dr. Barbara Sturm is
Hmm.
a fabulous skincare line, and she's come up with a skincare line for darker complexions.
Hmm.
Like that didn't even like cross my mind. Like,
Yeah.
how smart. I wish I
Yeah.
thought of that.
Very, very smart. You
Yeah.
can still do it. So just what advice do you have for women out there that are going back and forth about having children or not? How they how can they know for sure what to do? Like, are we writing a pros and cons list? Like, just
No,
what?
do not, do not write a pros and cons list because you will stay focused on the cons or the pros. I feel that you just really need to communicate with your partner, talk to moms, talk to other child-free people, and listen to their experiences, and then make an educated choice. And lastly, you don't have to necessarily live by that choice. You don't have to really like be staunch in your beliefs, like, oh, I'm going to have kids for sure. Oh, I'm not going to have kids for sure. You can always change your mind, but don't let anybody bully you into having children. Don't let anybody shame you into having children. Just that would be my best advice. And this should go for everything that you do. Like if you are contemplating a massive decision, speak to other people who have been there, speak to other people who have been through it. It's the best way to make a decision is just to listen to other people's experiences and determine if it's right for you.
I love that. Thanks for that. And so, our
You're
final
welcome.
question on this podcast, the name of this podcast is Steady Making It. So, making your moves and working to reach your goals baby steps at a time. What's one piece of advice you have for anyone who's trying to make it in life or work or whatever? They're just trying to make it.
Oh, geez. I know this is such played out advice, but just stick with it. And again, find other people, like get it. I have an accountability partner. Her name is Dominique as well. And she's a fabulous public speaker and singer. And so I do a lot of public speaking, but I wanted to get better at it. I wanted to create a speaker's kit. I do all these things to get my name out there, but I didn't know where to start. So I took it upon myself to reach out to her and ask her, can we please sit down and talk so that I can get some tips. And then just don't go up to somebody that you admire and be like, oh, I want to pick your brain. Give me all your tips. Give me all your contacts, blah, blah, blah. Start that conversation by saying like research them and then tell them why you like them and then let them know how you can help them as well. So yeah, definitely don't give up. Find somebody, find a mentor, find an accountability partner and make the best possible content, create the best possible product that you can, and you will find your community and you will do well.